All right, so we were at range 400. How do I erase? I don't want a pencil. I want a brush. Brush. So we were at range 400, right? Range 400 is like this. It's like this, and you like go this way. Like everybody moves kind of like that way. There's a trench like this, and there's a trench back here, and there's a trench over here, and there's like on this side there's like this wadi, right? And you can like walk through this wadi, and then there's like a hill. So there's like a hill here, right? And then over here there's a hill. So we were over here chilling on this hill, right? And it was nighttime, right? So we did this during the day. The way it works is the guys over here shoot at this trench, right? Everybody shoots at this trench so that the guys in the trench can't kill the guys over here, right? They walk this way, and then they get over here, right? That was a terrible one. Well, let me redo that. Right, so everybody walks down this trench, and then they get up on the hill, and then they run at this trench, right? So you got to shoot at this one so that they don't shoot these guys over here when they come up, right? So they're in like a ditch over here on the left. So during the day, that's how we did it. So these guys like swoop around and then get in here, and then these guys will break down from here and then join them, and then you get the other trenches after that, right? Suppressive fire, right? Yeah, exactly. So these guys on, we're going to call this support by fire hill. We're going to call this hill 1, right? So they're on hill 1, right? And they're shooting trench 1. So that's a T. It looks like a J. Hold on, let me fix that. Trench 1. And this is T2 and T3. We don't really care about T2 and 3. Those are being dealt with by somebody else. We don't care. SBF 1, yeah, support by fire 1. So we're on hill 1, shooting trench 1, while second squad is maneuvering. They're coming around the side to do this. And we did it during the day. It was fine, right? So this is all we care about. All we care about getting is trench 1. So these guys go around the side and then go in here. Then we started doing it at night. So we got there at night. I am standing right where this guy is right here. I'm standing right here. And then there's another guy in front of me. So like there's 4 of us standing here, and we're like safety. We're safety guys. We're making sure that everything's safe. So we're just watching. We each have a guy in front of us shooting, right? So the guy in front of me is like the team leader. He's in charge of the 4 little assholes up on this hill, and they're going to shoot trench 1. Trench 1 has strobe lights on it. So there's like strobe lights on the targets in here. So there's like little targets that they're supposed to shoot, and they have strobe lights, right? Me and the other guys in here and some of the safety guys in the trench, because there's like dudes walking through the trench while this happens, and there's safety guys in the trench. We all have a chem light, like a glow stick, attached to our helmet. So like we all have glow sticks on so that you can see us even if you don't have night vision on. So the guy in front of me turns his laser on his gun on, just like Call of Duty. He turns his laser on, and he circles trench 1. He circles it. He's like, look, everybody look at my laser, and circles it. He's like, everybody see it? And everybody out over here says, yeah, we all see it. And I'm like, yeah, looks good. I got night vision on. I'm looking. Looks good. And then he's like, all right, watch for my tracers. So then he started shooting tracer bullets from here. So he's shooting tracer bullets. So you can see where his bullets are going, right? And then he's like, all right, everybody else, shoot where I'm shooting. So then the other 3 guys start shooting. They shoot about 4 or 5 rounds altogether. And then somebody down here, like this guy, starts screaming on the radio. He's like, "Stop shooting! Ceasefire! Ceasefire! Stop shooting!" So we're like, "All right, everybody stop! Something's going on." And he's like, "We got 2 casualties down here, and one of them shot in the head." And I'm like, "Oh my fucking god, what the hell happened?" And then this guy right here, this motherfucker, this guy starts crying. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's because I'm watching this guy, right? I was right here, watching this guy. He's doing everything right. He's killing it. He's doing it. This guy, crying. Why is he crying? He realized that instead of shooting this way, he shot this way. And shot 2 people in the ditch over here. So,
Holy shit.
yeah, so he shot a guy. So so then we're like, fuck. All right. So I was like the senior guy up here. So I was like, hey, you, pointed at this guy. I was like, you, make sure nobody leaves until the cops get here, and don't let anybody touch their weapons. So they took their weapons off and they put them on the ground. I was like, just watch them. Don't let anybody do anything. We had the corpsman. He's like the medic. The medic was back here. He was like chilling. Oh, fuck. He was chilling back here somewhere. So I ran back, got this guy. So I grabbed him and then came running back up through. Then we ran down into the ditch. So in the dark, we ran through there, and it's all hilly and shit. And I get into the ditch, and I get to like right here-ish. And there's Petrie. Petrie is my buddy. So that's like who we thought Peter's name was after. So we find Petrie. Petrie is laying on the ground, like yelling. He's like, ah! So he's like alive. He's yelling. And then this guy, I don't remember his name, but some Lance Corporal, so like low-ranking guy, was like holding him, like cradling him, like a baby. And Petrie didn't have a helmet on. His helmet was off, which was weird because everybody else had helmets on. And the kid who was holding him was like, Sergeant, Petrie got shot in the head. And I was like, then why'd you take his helmet off? And he was like, So if you don't know, if somebody gets shot in the head, you don't take their helmet off because their skull could be fractured. And if you take their helmet off, it like can shift and fuck their brain up. So the helmet keeps their head together. And it keeps it like their skull in place until the medics get there. And I was like, you took his helmet off? And he was like, And he's like, well, he's not bleeding. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess he just had like a round hit the top of his helmet. I'm like, don't let him go to sleep. He's probably got a concussion. Don't let him fall asleep. I'll deal with him later because the other guy is shot. I don't know how bad the other guy is, right? So I leave them. I'm like, he'll be fine, right? So that was Petrie. Then I run down here to this guy. Then we run up on this scene, right? So I walk up. I run up, right? There are bandages and like splints and other like stuff that's in medical kits all over the ground. Like just somebody, we all carry little medical kits, kind of like the IFAK in this game. That shit is everywhere. It's all over the fucking ground. And one guy is shot in the shoulder, and he's on his knees. He's like shot in his shoulder, and he's standing like there like this. And he doesn't have his flak or his helmet on. So he's just standing there like in his camis, like his camouflage, just like, or he's kneeling. And he's like, seems fine. He's like holding his shoulder. He got shot in the shoulder. And then the guy, the safety guy, so the guy with the glow stick on, is freaking the fuck out. He's like, I need fucking bandages. I need bandages right fucking now. Oh my god. Somebody bring me some bandages. And I'm walking up with like the medic. I have the medic. I bring the medic up. And I'm like, hey, get some shit out of your bag to deal with this. So then I open up my medical kit and I pull out bandages and I hand it to him. Like, here you go. Here are bandages. And he's like, oh, thanks. So he rips them open and he's like freaking the fuck out. The guy who got shot is just chilling. He's like, whatever. Same shit, different day. The guy applying aid is like, everybody point your guns away. We just got shot at. He like cannot fucking handle it. Like, I'm like, dude, calm the fuck down. Nobody, like, they're both alive. We're fine. But he just got shot at for the first time and he's losing his fucking mind. I'm like, all right, dude, fucking whatever. So I hand him the bandages, and when you get shot, you're supposed to like take gauze, right? So you take like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Gauze, kind of like almost like a very thin rag type of deal like this, and you stuff it into the wound to stop the bleeding, and then you take a bandage and you wrap it over top so that it's like tight on there, right? So that's like how you deal with it. And he didn't stuff the wound, he didn't clean the wound, he didn't do nothing. He took a shitty fuck ass bandage, wrapped it around like twice. It didn't help at all. And then he just like put his hands on it to like hold pressure on it. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm right there, you know. So I got my flashlight on it. And I'm like, he's fine. Like, Hooli was the guy who got shot. Hooli's like kind of going into shock. He was saying some funny shit because he like didn't know what was going on. He's like, tell my girlfriend that I'm okay. I'm like, dude, you, me, this freaking out motherfucker, and God are the only ones who know you got shot. Like, no one knows. You'll tell her yourself in the hospital in like an hour. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the safety vehicle's gonna, like, the ambulance will be here in a minute. Like, just hang on. So I could like see the wound, and he like wasn't bleeding that much. Like, he really didn't get fucked up that bad. Like, so I was like, he's fine. Whatever. You could just, even if we do nothing, he'll be fine. So our safety guy, the corpsman, the medic, was incompetent as fuck. He couldn't help at all. Like, so I just told him to go sit in the corner, and he just sat over there and waited. So they pull up the ambulance, and in this ditch right here, right? So right here, you have to climb up like 20 feet. You have to like climb, like not like scale a wall, but like it's uphill, and it's tough. You know, it's like it's not easy to, you can't just like walk out. You have to actually climb. Hooli, who got shot, walked out. He climbed out himself and then got into the safety vehicle, like right here. So, like, if this is the safety vic, he walked up there and got in the safety vehicle in the ambulance himself. Like, he didn't even need help. And then they drove away off the range, right? And then we picked up all his gear, so we had, like, his flak and his helmet and his gun and all of his shit. So we'd, like, put all that shit on us, and we started walking off the range. So now we're starting to walk back this way, because we all got to go, like, the staging area is, like, way back over here somewhere. So we got to walk, like, a mile this way. It's south, right? We got to walk, like, a mile south to go back to the staging area. On the way back, so Hooli gets in the safety truck, and he's gone, right? And then we're walking back, and Petrie is, like, standing up now. Like, someone took his flak off, so he's just standing there in camis. And I walk up to him, and I kind of, like, look at him. And he's, like, he's got a concussion, clearly. But, like, otherwise he's, like, fine. And I, like, kind of, like, touch his head, and his head feels fine, except for he's got, like, this big, like, he's, like, kind of bleeding off the top of his head, but it's more like a scratch. It's not, like, a gunshot wound. It's just, like, a scratch.
Oh,
I'm like,
God, I think they should keep 1D2.
And I'm like, all right, whatever. Petrie, who just got shot in the head, walks all the way back to the staging area on his own. No help. Didn't get in the safety vehicle, didn't go to the hospital, nothing. He walked off the range. And then we looked at his helmet. His helmet, oh my God. So, I don't know how to describe this shit. He's wearing his helmet, right? He got shot above the right ear. Like, it hit above the right ear like this. The bullet went across the top of his helmet, bulged at the top. At the top, the helmet bulged. So it cut the top of his head really hard. And then it went down this side and went out the other side above his ear. So it hit one side and went out the other side without going through his head. It rode the top of his helmet.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So when you look at his helmet, you could put a rod, like if you had like a rod, you could stick it through the helmet, because there was like it looked like one clean hole through his head, but it went through the top. And then all it did was when it bulged, it cut at the top of his head, but then he got a concussion. He got shot with a fucking round. He thought that it was a ricochet off the top of his head, like it hit the top and bounced off. But now that shit went in one side and then all the way through and out the other side. Petrie. Okay, so let's talk about Hooley. Hooley, who got in the safety truck, he took an ambulance off the range and then he got in a helicopter and flew to like the big hospital, which was like an hour away by drive. He stayed in the hospital for like 2 weeks because he had like internal damage on his shoulder, and then he had his shoulder repaired, and then he came back to work. He went on deployment with us. Great dude. I love that guy. Good Marine. I liked him a lot. So he like 2 weeks in the hospital and he's good to go. Petrie walked off the range and continued to train for 7 more days. Never went to the hospital. Fucking just walked it off. He got shot in the head and walked it off. Like, that dude was a bad motherfucker. I mean, like, it wasn't even like he was, like, crazy tough. He just, like, didn't realize he should have gone to the hospital. And then afterwards, there was, like, this big investigation that went on, and this guy, so the culprit, this motherfucker, right, this guy right here who shot the 2 guys, he shot Petrie and Hooley, he said in the investigation that the targets were marked with chem lights, which was not true. If you remember, I said the targets were marked with strobe lights, which is different. So there's strobing lights, and then there's solid glow sticks, right? So people were marked with solid glow sticks, and the targets were marked with strobing flashlights. So he said he got confused and thought that the chem lights, the glow sticks in the trench, were the targets. So he shot a bunch of rounds into the trench thinking those were the targets. Even though his team leader told him, like, look at where my laser is, follow my tracer bullets, look at my tracer bullets. Even after all that, he still shot these guys in the trench. He never got in trouble for that. Never got in any trouble. They just moved him to a different unit. And then all of the guys I worked for, so the 4 guys I worked for, so there's your company commander, your company executive officer, which is like the second guy in charge, my company first sergeant, and my company gunnery sergeant, which is like the 2 senior enlisted guys. Like if I stayed in, I would become one of those. They all got relieved. So they were all relieved of command and like pretty much kicked out of the military. This guy, it was only his fault and no one else's, didn't get in any trouble. But Petrie walked off the range like a bad motherfucker. And then Petrie ended up being the guy who drove me around in Syria. So like we deployed to Syria after that. And Petrie was like my truck driver every day. And my designated marksman. So if you hear me talk about, there's a story on my YouTube channel where I talk about the scariest time, like the most scared I've ever been in the military. Tells a story about when I was in Syria, and Petrie was my driver that day. He was in my truck. He was right next to me when it happened. I thought I was gonna get blown up by ISIS. They never came though. They were being pussies that day. So, yeah. Hope you guys learned something. Infection, yeah. Hooley ended up being fine. I don't think he got infected. The only complaint he had in the hospital was that he was really stinky. Because by the time he got shot, we had already been out in the field for like a week. Because we did 2 weeks in the field. And 1 week into it, those 2 guys got shot. So like he hadn't showered in a week, and he was like dirty as fuck and smelled terrible. And they put him in the hospital, and like he wasn't even complaining about the pain. Like he kind of complained about how his shoulder hurt, but like that wasn't his big complaint. Like he really only cared that they wouldn't clean him. So like the nurses thought he smelled so bad they wouldn't come in and like wash him. They wouldn't give him sponge baths or like let him go take a shower. Like so for the two weeks that he was in there, he just stunk really bad. And he said it was like terrible how bad he smelled, because he could smell himself the whole time. And that was like his biggest complaint. He's a cool dude though. I miss that guy. Oops. You thought somebody got killed? I thought somebody got killed. When they came on the radio and said there's 2 casualties and 1 guy shot in the head, I thought for sure someone just died and I was going to jail. Because I was like kinda in charge of the unit. I wasn't the senior guy, but I was the second most senior guy. So I was like, I'm going to jail.
How did you not get in jail?
They deemed it to be like not my fault. It's kind of Kind of long
People
story,
there who are
but they
just
like,
way above you.
yeah, the investigating officers found that it was like our command's fault and not our fault. But it wasn't our command's fault. They did all the right things. It was that kid's fault. That one kid was being an idiot and shot 2 people, and they needed somebody to blame. I don't know.